6:13 before the hour 1 o'clock. This is your Knoxman standing in for Faith Mangope. Let's look at the issue of recycling and waste pickers. So let's welcome John Coleman. He's the operations manager at Eben Surfer. John, good afternoon. Welcome to Power.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon.
Interesting that a partnership has been launched to upskill Joburg's informal waste reclaimers. What partnership is that?
Urban Surfer finds solutions for informal reclaimers, and we have managed to partner with Hippo to provide these solutions.
I see. But John, I want us to look at some of the realities and the practicalities that we see with the waste pickers. If you drive along the M1, the Mike 1 North, on the left, just before you move towards Pretoria, Allendale, you've got a community of waste pickers there. You know, it's like it's now a community. Yeah. And for me, it looks pretty strange, pretty odd. Is that how it should be? Meaning that they live in that open field, they wash, they clean there, they do everything there, and it seems as if it's a normal thing. I don't hear people talking about the plight of those people. Is that how it should be with the waste pickers?
It certainly shouldn't be. You know, these are people that are unable to find jobs. South Africa has a massive unemployment problem, especially since COVID, you know, when people have been been let off and we've lost so many jobs. It's, you know what, it's a way for people to make money. If they collect plastic and they sell it, they can put food on the table. It's the only way, because people just cannot find jobs.
You know, if you have companies like yours, Surfer, now you've struck an important partnership. Do you anticipate, John, that probably in future you might, for instance, engage the city of Joburg to say, through, you know, a tripartite partnership, what else can be done for the plight of these waste pickers? But because for me, being a country that is based on human rights, and people are just left out there to fend for themselves, and they do an important job of recycling. Is that something that you might consider in terms of engaging, for instance, City of Joburg, especially now that we'll be having the new mayors and so on after the elections?
Yes, absolutely. It is priority for us. You know, other than trying to help the recyclers themselves with providing them with better equipment to do their job, you know, it's a multifaceted thing that we want to approach. You know, one of the big things is educating the public on the role that waste pickers play. You know, you say you see them on the side of the road, and is this a norm? You know, we want to educate the public to show them that the waste picker is doing the most fantastic job. You know, that's one of our things. You know, the fact that they earn very little from what they're doing is another thing, and that's where we start to approach government. We have already done this. We have engaged with the Johannesburg Department of Waste, the Gauteng Department of Rural Development, and we are now in talks with them to see what it is that we can do with waste pickers going forward.
John, you speak about the important role they play. For somebody like me who doesn't understand the recycling business and the benefit of it, how can you sum it up for us? How important is their job, and how does communities benefit from their recycling endeavors?
I'll just give you a couple of numbers. I mean, there's more than 100,000 informal reclaimers in South Africa who make a living from collecting.
What? 100,000?
Yes.
Wow.
These are the numbers we're talking about. Informal reclaimers saved municipalities 750 million rand in landfill space in 2014. Those are the last stats we had. That is already 6 or 7 years ago. Now, how did they save that? Well, they are removing plastic that would otherwise be going onto the landfill. And the landfills in Joburg are going to run out in the next 5 years. We don't have plans for new landfills. So this is really, really, really important. And also, between 80 to 90% of plastic and paper packaging waste, which is recycled in South Africa, is recycled by formal reclaimers. And this is why each informal reclaimer diverts up to about 24 tons of packaging waste a year from our country's landfills. That's why they're important to us.
Yeah. John, I need to go back to a project that was launched, I think, by the Gauteng government, where they procured, like mobile cars that look like the old scooters, delivery scooters, that were supposed to be, we're told that waste pickers are going to be trained, because this issue of the way they move their trolleys on the road sometimes is quite scary, like they ride those trolleys like taxi drivers, or most taxi drivers, I must say. And, people were really complaining, but I think we have started to understand that, their particular role. But Gauteng province spoke about procuring these scooters. They're going to train them so that, they can load their recycled materials in a proper way, and then they drive appropriately. Have you heard anything since about that?
Look, what we have done over the past 2 years when we started our business is we engaged with the waste pickers themselves, because if the solution is not coming from the waste picker, they won't use it. I suspect that the scooters, first of all, it's not a green solution, because they're using fuel. Second of all, you've got to put fuel in it. These guys can't even earn money to put fuel in those vehicles. So, look, I think somebody at that point was trying to help, but we've come up with another solution by working with waste pickers. So, yes, we have provided them with protective clothing, with PPE, with trolleys that are more visible during the day, and if these guys, for argument's sake, you're saying with the scooters, they can't afford to put the fuel in them, so it's not actually going to work. Whereas, one of our solutions is let's say a more effective solution for collecting, which is very much based on what they already have, but it's just a lot safer.
Yeah, indeed. But practically, John, in terms of the trolleys that they ride, because for me, each and every time I look at it, it's like a potential accident waiting to happen. So, are you having any mechanisms or any interventions that you can apply to ensure that we don't experience any collisions? Because it really looks unsafe for me.
Yeah, well, look, what they're using at the moment is certainly unsafe. So what we've done is develop something very much along the lines which they have, but is far more visible and safer on the road. We've only just rolled out our pilot project on Thursday last week. We've rolled it out with 50 waste pickers in the Alexandra area, so they will be collecting basically around the Sandton area.
Yeah. I see here on a statement some commitment coming from the city of Joburg. For instance, part of the interventions that they will come up with. I'm not sure if you're very much aware of that, but to say that they will move the waste pickers from the streets, enable them to get sorting sites, which is important, ensure that they're part of the waste mainstream, register the waste pickers in the city of Johannesburg, provide them with protective clothing, provide them with training, and improve their living conditions so they don't rummage in bins. So what we have learned in the media is that what is written in government documents does not necessarily translate into action. So are you aware of these proposals that the city of Joburg undertakes to do? And if so, how are you going to back it up?
Yes, we are very aware of that. And like you said, it's easy to say something, it's another thing to do it. That's where Urban Surfer comes in, is that we can work with the waste pickers to organize them better so that then government can help them. Because government does want to help waste pickers. It's just waste pickers are not organized enough in their associations because the government will deal with an association, not with an individual. That's where we come in, and we will help waste pickers to collectively bargain with government so that the government can provide the things they're saying, which is health and safety training, sorting areas, inclusion into formal recycling, and so on. Government has said they will do this, but it's from the waste picker side that they can't do it with an individual waste picker, and that's where we want to come in and say, okay, now we have a number of waste pickers, and can we work with them? Because the government will only work with a collective, not an individual.
Yeah. John Coleman, This is not an easy job. It is a tricky job. It is a risky job. It is you can even call it a dirty job, because people go to an extent of getting into people's bins, to sort things out. So the question is, as urban safers, what do you stand to benefit for getting involved in this dirty job?
Well, from our side, our passion is reduction of plastic waste in the environment. That is what our passion is about. We started with informal reclaimers because we think that they are doing a job that you couldn't invent a machine to do the job that these guys are doing. I mean, like I said, between 80 and 90% of plastic and paper packaging, which is recycled in South Africa, is recycled by informal reclaimers. So we want to work with these guys to provide them. What do we get out of it? Satisfaction, I would say, at the end of the day. That we want to make things happen. And that's why what we want to do is work with waste pickers. Currently what we're doing is we are also tracking their collection. And, the municipalities, they want reporting on separation at source, but there is no information. And we're starting to gather information. And, we know in this world today, information is everything. If you've got data and you can collect real data, then somebody's going to want that. And this is what we're doing. We are collecting data on plastic separation at source, basically the guy taking it out of your dustbins, and where they sell it at the buyback centers. We're measuring now how much plastic and where it's coming from.
Okay.
In the long term, we will have data on that, and that's our priority.
Very briefly, John, I want you to answer Karabo here on Twitter. He's saying, regarding waste pickers, are they helping all waste pickers or South African waste pickers? Because in most time, they target waste pickers at CBDs and forget about those in townships, which are South Africans.
Well, currently, like I said, there's over 100,000 waste pickers. We don't exclude foreigners, and neither does the government on that matter. The government, as well as us, just wants to know who is collecting waste, and are they South African or are they from any other neighboring country. They're not concerned about whether they're from another country, but they want to know that information so that we can see. The 50 guys we have, we didn't pick them because...
The people who are from other countries, are they here legally, or it doesn't matter?
Well, you see, when it comes to waste collection, it doesn't matter. I'm sure it matters on other platforms. But insofar as waste collection goes, we need to know, out of 10 waste collectors in this country, are 6 of them South African and 4 of them foreign? Nobody knows. And this is the data that we want to start collecting.
John Cullerman, we got to leave it at that. Thank you very much. The operations manager at Urban Safer.